Hello everyone, and welcome to the 13th plagiarized episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring E.K. Johnston from Disney Lucasfilm. Second only to Sam Maggs, E.K. Johnston is perhaps one of my most hated Disney Star Wars authors in history. And it's primarily two bizarre contributions, shall we call it, that is the reason for it. First off, she wrote numerous novels about Padme Amidala, and is mostly responsible for writing about periods, just so there would be a Wikipedia page about it. She also created the worst character concept in recent memory. Sister, a literal, and I'm not making this up, transgender clone trooper. Yeah, so you can tell why E.K. Johnston is being featured in this series. I shouldn't have to explain why a character like Sister is completely implausible and out of place in Star Wars, but I'll do so anyways. For one, clone troopers were literally raised where the only females would have been Kaminoans, an entirely different species. And for the other point, the clone troopers are meant to be the predecessor for the stormtroopers, and they carry a lot of fascist symbolism. Fanatical and indoctrinated soldiers who follow orders without question. Now technically it's Dave Filoni's fault for not understanding that, but I think Sister is a problematic character because it doesn't align with the allegory. Silly Mustache Man was not an advocate for trans rights, so why the hell is the predecessor army to the elite fascist military force got trans people? Also, out of all the things clones grown to be soldiers should worry about, gender identity is not one of them. So yeah, the character is extremely out of place, and was subject to heavy ridicule. This ridicule has started to pick up with the release of a book about the clone troopers, where Sister, my god, was featured. Captain Rex is the narrator of the book, and he states, and I quote, "When one of our kind expressed her gender identity differently than her fellow troopers, she feared she'd have to hide who she truly was inside. Fortunately, her brothers in the 7th Sky Corps gave her the name Sister as a constant reminder that she belonged." Disney, who has been criticized for pushing a woke agenda, certainly did not help their public image. I just want to give out another reminder that Disney as a company could not give less of a shit about minorities, gay or trans people. It's all an act to get the most amount of people on their side with the least amount of effort. Disney censored the lesbian kiss from The Rise of Skywalker for the Arabic releases of the movie. They pandered to China by filming near Chinese concentration camps, and most of the overt identity politics are featured in the comics and novels. I think that last part is important to point out, because have you ever seen a transgender or overtly gay character in any of the Disney Plus shows or movies? I don't think so is the point I'm making. It's extremely rare. That's all confined to the less accessible content, because I imagine most people who would buy Star Wars novels would be in the West anyways. I have spoken about how Russia really likes the Star Wars prequels, but that's a different story. In short, inserting gay and trans characters in books only Star Wars enthusiasts would read, and especially Disney Star Wars fans in this day and age since they alienated the expanded universe fan base, is something they can get away with. It doesn't make the feigned representation any less sincere, since Disney's too scared to put them universally if they truly cared about diversity. Now with that reminder out of the way, the whole point of Sister is literally to spread diversity in the clone army, which is the last place you want diversity, given the story purpose and allegory the clones have. You know, I kind of felt bad initially when E.K. Johnston's work on the Ahsoka novel was paved over by phony Filoni. But now I realize I shouldn't feel too bad, because E.K. Johnston has her own blunders, not as well known as Filoni's, but still. I just really hate how to Disney, it's insincere diversity at any cost. They have to make blunt statements about people's genders and sexualities, and it does not belong in Star Wars. There's shit people would rather be seeing in Star Wars than just overt yet phony representation to get more diversity checklist points. So everything I'm saying is not transphobia. Actually, it's quite the opposite. I'm calling out frauds who think putting this in their stories will automatically convince people they're genuine. These things are only done for purely political purposes and to appear inclusive, and usually, that's where the real bigots hide in plain sight. This is a call for authors to stop shoving woke identity politics into their novels. It isn't earned or sincere, and there's always a bizarre motivation for it. The way E.K. Johnston in particular handles these topics though, I can certainly say that just like the top boss Kathleen Kennedy, she doesn't truly care about equal representation. She absolutely should have put more thought into how to write transgender characters in Star Wars. And the thing is, transgenderism is hardly a relevant topic in most Star Wars stories. And I'm sick of seeing these absolutely comically forced characters in the franchise. It's such an artificial way to get a character to stand out. And it's even dumber than Omega in the Sad Batch, believe it or not. Granted, it's probably Filoni's fault that something like this exists in the first place, because most clones are supposed to be lacking independent thought, so they would absolutely not be questioning their gender identity. And again, the fascist allegory is important to consider. And the same way we didn't have trans National Socialists, there should not be trans clone troopers. Also, I have to wonder, since all the clones are based on the likeness of Tamara Morrison, our man, isn't it kinda disrespectful that they turned him into a woman for some fucked up reason? I know it's not appropriate to say that trans people are in drag, but this is exactly what it feels like. And it's a negative stereotype about trans people that is not helped through this character. Now maybe Tem is indifferent to this, but still, doesn't it seem a little bit inconsiderate to turn Tamara Morrison, or at least a character with his likeness, into a woman? Just saying. So bottom line, I'm against this stupid character because it's insincere diversity, and also missing the point of clone troopers. Like, the only thing they got right about Disney troopers in Disney canon was that they were quality over quantity compared to the Separatist droid army. If the intention was to make people get used to trans characters, which I doubt, the goal was not achieved whatsoever. Now you might feel this is more of a deconstruction of a character than the author who wrote her, but the thing is, you can tell a lot about a writer when they insert woke identity politics into their work. It is no longer just a piece of fiction. And the statement about how storytelling skills do not determine character, but rather the author saying something about themselves and how they feel. People do not want real-life politics in fiction. They want fiction at its purest. Star Wars can be escapism from the real world for many, just like Harry Potter, for example. But the problem is that they're making Star Wars too much like the real world now. People don't want to think about the world we live in. They want to be sucked into a galaxy far, far away, but they can't, because the dumbasses at Disney prioritize woke identity politics at all costs. And it's not even a genuine attempt to represent people. It's just to make themselves look like heroes for shedding light on minorities. But since lots of companies are going woke anyways, the thing is played the fuck out. I would rather focus on the struggle between the light and dark side, or whatever's actually important or relevant to the universe, rather than reading about someone questioning whether or not they like pee-pee. Gay characters are extremely hard to write convincingly anyways, and E.K. Johnston is absolutely not someone who has anywhere near enough talent to write them effectively. So my advice would be to stay far the fuck away from that. So that is my hit piece on E.K. Johnston. And her Star Wars books are passed off as unremarkable anyways. So aside from making people scoff at the stupid elements of her books, she's done nothing even remotely resembling Star Wars. And it's Star Wars in name only pretty much. The escapism of Star Wars is completely gone, and I've highlighted the reasons why. And E.K. Johnston as being a part of that, where Disney Factory churns out novels with at least 10 political statements made, doesn't help. I don't care if she was obligated to by Kathy, because she easily could have chosen not to write the novels anyways, but she collaborated with the white slavers, and in the end, earned her place as evil. Thank you for listening to this episode of Analyzing Evil. What do you think of E.K. Johnston? Leave your thoughts below. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories but mystery boxes?
Under the mountain